Another our second live streaming event for Across the Pond. And we're trying to do this on a weekly basis. And there's nothing quite like waking up very, very early in the morning on the west coast of the United States to make sure that we're available, or I'm available. And then, there's also probably nothing quite like adjusting your schedule on a Friday afternoon so that you can sit in front of a computer and chat if you're all the way in England, right?
Yeah, mate. Especially when you forget about
it. Yeah. So the story there is that I knew I set my alarm for 5 a.m. for a reason. I just didn't remember what it was. And so I'm on my computer, and Simon checks in to say, "Hey, look, I'm going to be on to be able to do live stream in a minute." And I just kind of went, "Oh, yeah, I guess that's a good idea. Let's do that." Let's do that. So as Simon and I were chatting this morning, we have a few things that we're trying to talk about, and they were mostly stories from my week this time, and my week had some pretty crazy things. But before we get started, Simon, you guys, do you end up fighting with wildfires and sort of other natural disasters where you're at?
Not so much the wildfires, mate. We don't get nothing like that over here. We get more rain than anything.
I totally get it.
Yeah, apart from the lockdown with the pandemic and all that, we ain't really had anything like that sort of drastic over here. It's never that bad.
Okay. Well, so one of the reasons I wanted to just sort of bring it up is that I have been somewhat scattered all week, and so has my team, because there are a series of wildfires that are running through California right now. And we have evacuated a number of people, folks that are close to me. I have a niece that is in college, and she has gone to a local community not very far from us to make sure that she's safe. And then there have been others in our team that are either packing an emergency go bag or something similar. So anyway, it's been kind of a weird week. But in the weird week, there've been some really cool stuff that's happened. So we thought maybe we could pick up how patience can lead to a $3 million payday. That actually happened this week, which is a pretty amazing story. And then we also have the sort of aha moment as I'm writing another proposal for a $10 million project, and how important success stories are. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Maybe we'll probably talk about something that in our house is called Cooking with Kevin. And for me, that's just kind of funny because it's a story that comes out of my kids' lives, but it's really appropriate for like right now. And I think that it might be fun to cover. And then finally, believe it or not, I was on the phone with Dan Kennedy of Magnetic Marketing and GKIC this week. And as I was on the phone with him, the chat had to do with all these creative ideas in a pandemic for entrepreneurs, for business owners. And I thought maybe that would be interesting to have folks on, have us talk about what some of those opportunities might be.
Some people are struggling with it as well, aren't they, at the moment? And people panic because of the pandemic and all that. But
yeah,
still the market there, isn't it, mate? So
well, and I think that maybe to jump to that topic first, he was indicating, if you sit and think about it, even you could come up with these brainiac ideas. But one of the conversations he was having was to suggest that there is always something happening in the world that screws up what you thought was the right business path, right? I mean, there's a stock market crash, there's a pandemic, there's a hurricane, there's a tornado, there's an earthquake, there's a change in policy and politics. All of these changes happen regularly, it's really how we respond to those, and maybe the systems we have put in place behind the scenes to provide that resilience. And it's better to talk about the current day stuff at the water cooler to your customer than it is to just simply ignore that it's happening, right? So,
Yeah, definitely. Like
and
you say, mate, I mean, it reacts to different people in different ways as well. For me, because I obviously work at home, it hasn't really made any changes to me as such, because I'm sitting indoors on the computer every day anyway. The only time I really go out is to get food or go take my daughter to work. And she hasn't been working, so she's gone back this week. She had a couple of days. I took her this morning, but like you say, it doesn't affect me in any way, you know.
yeah. Well, and it doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect your sort of standard operating procedure, but it should affect your marketing. And
Yes, yeah, that
eh,
side of it, yeah, definitely.
um, so one of the things that I thought would be really interesting is to have this conversation, and maybe we could do it in chat or other places. But what are people doing differently in their marketing campaigns to address the conversation at the water cooler? And I think that some of that back and forth you and I had this last week as we were talking about lead magnets and trying to get in front of the right audience, right? And to simply say, hey, is the pandemic changed your income? Do you need more control over your income? And if you do, maybe you should pick up, this sort of simple solution that anybody could do, and you could do it in, you could start it this week and start making sales this week.
Yeah, and it's how do people react to that? You know, because they want to build their business and they're worrying and they're panicking about, what's going on in the world.
Absolutely.
Where do they start? I mean, for me personally, I have seen so many posts on Facebook and social media of people doing different lead magnets, and they're throwing out businesses, and I've seen a lot of the gurus throwing out stuff, but is it actually working for people? Are they actually taking the action and pushing out with it, And at the end of the day, if they're investing money into these programs, are they getting a return on it?
Yeah, and I think that it's interesting that you would say that, because we've had other sort of major market downturns and recessions and other things, and we've seen major information packages created by some of the larger online sort of uh, entrepreneurs who are using this digital channel to figure out how to sell more, and they're coming up with like business rescue kits in
Yeah.
in the recession, right? And that was really, we spent a lot of time. Dan spent a lot of time this week talking about kind of what that really looks like, and if you were smart today and you had nothing else that you were doing, you could come up with a pandemic rescue kit for your business, or pandemic rescue kit for your paycheck. And it could come up with everything from doing what you do and selling on Amazon, or selling in any of the other, eBay or whatever. But it could also be a training kit on how to use the technology that we currently have, and how to make money with Zoom, and how to teach other people how to do different things when they're trying to change their career, because now all of a sudden they can't go and do what they've been doing. I mean, there's all kinds of good ideas. It's really kind of
Yeah,
interesting.
definitely. Yeah.
Really kind of
It's,
interesting.
it is interesting because you think, like, when you look at different business models and different markets that you could enter, and a lot of it is COVID edition, COVID-19 edition, and all that sort of side I've seen. A lot of the lead magnets are coming up like that, rescue your business through the COVID and stuff like that. Do you think that's right, that people are using that COVID as an addition to their books and lead magnets?
Yeah, so I mean, you have to be careful because it can come across as opportunistic.
Yeah.
And if it comes across as opportunistic, I think that can be the challenge. If it doesn't come across as opportunistic, and it comes across as authentic. I think that there's
Yeah,
really a good opportunity there because you're picking up the conversation that's actually really occurring in their own head, right? I mean,
yeah,
they're at the kitchen table, they're at the kitchen sink, they're in the family room watching television with their family, and the real conversation is, I don't know what I'm gonna do next because I just got furloughed from my job. Or
yeah.
you
We
know,
was talking about this the other day, weren't we, Brad?
exactly.
Saying about how it's affecting people for mostly men and the working women of the world.
Yep.
Of they're not going to work. Where's the next paycheck coming from? What
Yep.
are they going to do next? And it's where that's where they're panicking, and
Yep. Yeah,
where do they turn?
and it's a real pain. I mean, it's very real. It's not. I mean, we're not making stuff up. It's the real conversation that's happening. And if you could join them in that conversation, not to take advantage of them, but to connect with them, to say, we, life is really hard if you lose your paycheck because you were relying on somebody else to continue to feed your family. Wouldn't it be
Yeah,
great for you to be able to take control over your life and over your income? And if you are one of those kinds of people who feel kind of out of control and you need to be able to own a process, see how things work, then maybe today's the day. Grab this free report that I'm trying to help you with. Grab this, flow chart of things to do. Grab this list of the top 15 or top 20 things you can do today to take control of your income. And now all of a sudden we're providing value to them, and we're not just, showing up to say, "I'll bet you're panicked. I can solve your panic," and sort of stealing their money, right? That's not fair. And
that's the opportunity
that's the
part
opportunist.
you're saying about it,
It,
right? Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
exactly.
Yeah, it's more with you're trying to, like as you say, you're trying to provide value for people in that situation without taking the piss, basically.
That's right. Yeah, 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 yeah. No,
you know,
that's right. And
because like you say, a lot of the opportunists out there will try and take the mick out of people, and they will try and take their money, knowing
absolutely
that the system that they're using won't work.
right.
Or
Yeah,
you've got to spend a lot of money to make it work and things.
yeah,
I've been in that situation many times.
yeah. Yeah, it's sort of, that's an interesting way to sort of get into one of the other topics that I wanted to put on here today, and that was it being all about the success stories, right?
Yeah.
If you're trying to sell something that doesn't work, it comes across as snake oil. If you're trying, I mean, it's like, lotions and potions and other things that if
Yeah, we
they
know them type.
absolutely, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But just because there's a good marketing message behind it doesn't mean that you should be trying to sell it. I mean, let's have a little bit of integrity here, and let's try to figure out how to solve a problem with either 100% honesty to say, I've had some success. I may not be absolutely perfect at this, but this is the success I've had, and let me show you how I'm doing it. Right. So that's one. That's one. Or
Yeah,
if you've been winning awards and you're doing an amazing job, it's okay to say, this is how we've been winning awards in the past. It may not directly apply to you, but if you want to get a hold of the team that's been winning these kinds of awards or doing this kind of work, there's no other way to do it. You have to hire us because we are sort of separated and in a group of one. Um, and the reason I wanted to bring that up was we my team competes head to head against a bunch of other teams, and it's for big dollars. It's never for
yeah,
a
yeah,
little here and a little there. It's for big dollars. So this last exercise is worth about $1.5 to $2 million a year. We're not exactly sure yet what they specifically need, but what we believe that they're going to need is a full-time team of professionals for over a year, in a like a 3-year chunk of time with an option to renew over and over again. Um, and it's the first time one of our friends has, so he moved from one place to another. And as he moved to another, he sent out a request for us and a bunch of other people to send him, a package to say, this is what we could do for you, right? Which is what we call a proposal. And
Yeah.
and in that proposal, it's pages and pages and pages and pages of ways for us to say, this is who we are, what we do, and how we're qualified to do your work. Well,
And that gives you the credentials for that, doesn't it, Brad, for your company, basically?
yeah, so we have credentials that we get from school, and we have credentials that we get from the government that registers us for the work that we do. Right?
Yeah.
It's like getting a license to perform law. It's like a license to perform medical procedures and things like that. We're licensed to solve math and physics problems, and it's kind of a weird. Kind of a weird market because I don't think you think of scientists and engineers that are highly competitive and go out and have to sell their wares and stand up in front of a group of people and say, this is who we are and what we do. It just doesn't kind of link normally, right?
Yeah.
But that's the kind of team that I run. And in this pursuit, so we fill this thing out, and we got one of the most personal formal business memos I've ever seen in my life. And the memo was to all of us, and the answer, or our potential client, who is a friend of ours and we know him well, his personality came out in this memo, and he essentially said, you guys gave me great stuff. The competition is so fierce that what we tried to do was ask you the right questions in the original request, but what we found is that we weren't clear enough to have you guys give us specific answers about how you can help. So here's what I need for you to do. I need for you to answer 4 questions. And I don't want it to be any more than 1 page per response, per question that you're responding to. I want you to write 1 page most to answer each of the 4 questions. And I thought it was really clever because the 4 questions have everything to do with where have you succeeded before.
So he basically wanted the facts of where you're going and that.
Yeah, he was tired of what he said in not so many words was, I cannot tell who I want to hire if you just give me the marketing crap.
Yeah. So people beating around the bush sort of thing. That's how we would say it over here. Stop beating around the bush and give me the details.
Yeah, you're bloviating, right? I mean, you have using these fancy words and there's a whole lot of marketing fluff about how big you are and all how many years you've been in business and everything else. We time out, stop all of that. Here are the challenges I have. When have you solved those before? And I thought that was really, really wise advice. And I think that what he's doing for our team is he is putting an underline in, this is the important part. Where have you succeeded before? Tell me the story. I want to see the dragon's head laid in front of me that you've slayed, and I want to sit at the table and I want to hear about what it meant when you slayed that dragon. How did you do it? Right?
Yeah.
And
just pushing you to get them details straight, direct, without going here, there, and everywhere.
Yeah, and I think we lose that. I think that we're so concerned about making sure that we're using the right copywriting and that we're using the right headlines and we're using the right images, and we're trying to connect with people in a way to sort of say, let me tell you about us. And what he's really saying is, I need for you to tell me about how you will help me. And I want you to tell
solve our problem.
Yeah, solve
It's
my
kind of,
problem.
yeah, straight
Exactly.
in, it? Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought,
And like you say, a lot of
right.
the sales copy and things out there like that, they do kind of beat around the bush and it's all hyped up. They're not giving you the full details, are they?
No, in fact, if you go back and you read them, right? I mean, and look, I'm a copywriter. I'm here to tell you that we spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to use the right words to engage the right people and emotionally connect. If you, however, get to a situation kind of like we are right now, you have your target customer in mind, and we do. We have one person. We have one person because he wrote the memo, and he's going to be the ultimate decision maker. He's going to evaluate everything that comes to him. We're writing our responses direct to him, and it's this very real conversation. We hear clearly your challenge is this, this, and this. And let me tell you what our current team is doing for one of your peers that has very similar problems. And I'll tell you what we got right, and I'll tell you what we got wrong. And we are here to get as much right as we can, but in all honesty and all fairness, we're going to continue to make some mistakes, or we're not learning, and we're not doing everything we possibly can to, I don't know, get across the finish line together, kind of breaking some rules and, trying new things. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting. Really interesting.
And it brings me to the facts of like you're saying your target audience there, you know the person you're targeting directly to him. But how would you go about that targeting for someone new, Brad?
So, this is kind of interesting. I appreciate you asking because I'm actually going through this right now. There's part of my market that on the information side. So, for those of you who don't know, I am developing a training program that piggybacks off on some successes, major successes that I've had since about 2003. And in those successes, I'm trying to teach other people how to do it. I can be kind of caught up in feeling like I'm the target market. So what you and I have talked about doing is trying to do two things. You and I have talked about one, and there's probably one more. The one thing that you and I have talked about is being able to sit down and, from your target customer's perspective, write yourself a letter about what's going on in their life, who they are, and what their biggest challenges are. And when you do that, all of a sudden you start to feel like you are them, and you can start to use the same words that they're using. You can start to feel the same pain that they're feeling, and the same anxiety, the same excitement that they have. And as soon as you
And
can,
you're getting in, sorry, Brad, to interrupt, mate.
no,
You're
that's right.
getting into the mind of your
Yes,
target audience, aren't
yes,
you? That's the
absolutely.
purpose of it, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that when you do that, you get a chance to just to start to get away from assuming that you just know it all. I mean, it's
Yeah,
hard to
definitely.
write that letter sitting in somebody else's shoes. They don't know
Yeah.
anything about you. They don't know anything about your situation. It's only, I mean, they are writing it from a very selfish place. I mean, that's kind of where I think we all need to get. We need to get to the fact that our customers or our clients, they're in a very selfish place. We're, we say, we want to come in the room and go, hey, pay attention to me, and and they are saying, stop, listen to me. I have a problem. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your solution is. I have a problem. Listen to my problem. And then when you do listen to their problem, you get a chance to say, look, I don't know whether or not this solution will work for you, but this is what I think will address the pain points that you currently have, and address the anxiety that you're going through and the fears that you have. If it does, great, and if it does, we can make this world better together.
Yeah, definitely. And that section there, Brad, where you're saying you're writing a letter as a customer, as a client to the vendor, or whatever way around it is, that point there is where you begin to start your marketing properly, because
Yes.
you're targeting the right people. It's giving out these lead magnets, coming back to that point.
Yep.
If you're trying to build a list and you're trying to market to people, if you're marketing to the wrong people or trying to market to everybody on the planet, on social media, on YouTube, on all these places, you're just trying to get people on your list and you're targeting everything and anything
Yeah.
and everyone, it's never going to work
Oh yeah.
because you're going all over the place. You're
Yep.
not addressing the right people, and that's what that kind of letter targets it down to, isn't it?
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
In so many words.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, it would be like going into the airport where everyone is waiting to get on to different planes going different places and try to sell everyone sunglasses, right? It's
Yeah,
it's
can't
it
take oil.
right. It's like it doesn't make any sense. You're wasting your time and your energy. But if you were to walk over to the line that's all going to Tahiti, or they're going to Hawaii, or they're going to Cancun, or some other sunny place, then you have a much better chance of selling your sunglasses than if you were to just sort of shout down the hall and expect everyone to turn their head and go, "Oh yeah, you're talking to me." That's
Yeah,
not it.
it kind of brings me back to another thing I heard a while back, a few years back, where they say if you find a man in the desert miles and miles and he wants a glass of water, you could sell him that water, but you could pick the price
That's exactly right.
because he's desperate for that water, so you can market your own price, and that is
Right.
your target audience.
Yeah, for
It's,
sure.
it's directly to them,
Yeah, for sure. And so
in a funny kind of way.
yeah, for sure. And this so that that was the first way, and the second way is something that I'm actually doing right now, and it's fascinating for me. I am connecting with individuals who are part of my target market inside LinkedIn, and I'm honestly asking their advice. And when I'm asking their advice, I'm asking three questions really. The first question is, there is a sort of, it's almost a sister program to what I have. It's not, it teaches some of the same skills, but kind of not really. It's very related. All right, so they when you get that training, the people I'm asking, those folks that have been through that training, and I know who they are. They so and then I'm asking them questions. And the first question I ask is, based on that training that you just went through, what's the one thing that's so good about it that's really paid off in your career that you would love to just shout from the rooftop? What is it? Just one thing. And
Yeah,
and what I'm trying to do there is understand what went right, what problem they were
and
trying
what
to
went wrong?
solve
Yeah,
before, and how it is they see value in the program that that they went through, and hoping, here's what I'm hoping, is that those results of what they liked in that program, I can replicate maybe in a different way with my program. Okay.
but also that gives you the opportunity to see what went wrong and upgrade your training and provide the full value of what they're missing,
Abs-
or certain things that they're missing.
Absolutely. And that means it's sort of related to the second question I ask. The second
Yeah,
question I ask is, what's the one bad habit they had in the program that you went through that you want fixed right now?
yeah.
Uh,
So again, it pushes that point, doesn't it?
yes and no, right? So you said, what did you do right and what did you do wrong? Um, that's a slightly different question. The bad habit part is the kind of frustration that someone might have had going through the program, and it may not even be program related. It might be their experience in getting online, doing the training. It might be in the certification process. It might be even after the certification process and not getting enough support. I mean, who knows? I don't even, some of the answers I'm getting back are really fascinating. so the response back is, what's the one bad habit that needs to be fixed? And what happens is, if I then create a program that answers the first one and kind of reaches the bar that they've previously set, and then I fix the bad habit, all of a sudden I'm head and shoulders above the competition. Really, honestly, head and shoulders. And I'm talking to them in their own language. I can even
It's because of the value you're providing in the back end, isn't it? Then.
well, yeah, I mean, because they've told me what they want, right? They've told me you
Yeah.
need to deliver this and please fix that. And if what I tell them is, here's what I'm going to give you, it's going to allow you to do X, Y, and Z, or in your world, X, Y, and Z. And you do it in this way that connects with them on what they really, they've heard from other people about what they really like about another program. That's awesome. And then the second one is, you say, and I'm going to do it this way because I want to eliminate this challenge that you might have had in the past or heard of in the past, right? Well, now all of a sudden I'm connecting with them in the language they're using. And then the third one is the added value part. And then that question is, what's the one thing they should have what's the one topic, what's the one skill that they should have covered or taught you that they didn't? And now I have added value. I'm reaching the first bar. I'm solving the pain point that they had in the program to begin with, and now I'm giving them something that they couldn't get before. Well, now I have the keys to the kingdom, right? And in having the keys to the kingdom, I also have a program that's super helpful. I'm not trying to manipulate anybody. I'm just trying to give them
and you've had the
something-
feedback to say that it's helpful as well, from the people that have gone through it, which is always a great bonus, isn't it, to get that nice feedback like that.
Yeah.
Something you've provided for someone else and it's shared that value.
Yeah. So how do you? I mean, that's me and mine. How would you do something like that for you and your business?
Funny you say that, Brad. Actually, I had a question asked the other day, and we make the books for Kindle and low content books, and you've got a different array of the types of books. So you've got journals, you've got notebooks, you've got colouring books, and someone asked about planners. It's one of my students who's just come through my membership, and he asked me a question the other day of how do you make planners, and I said to him, I'll do him a video, and I've done a little video for him showing the different types of planners. Yeah, because you've got, there is certainly a different value of different types of planners, from financial planners to budgeting planners to meal planners to storage planners to, there is so many different types of planners. Yeah. And I put this in a video, so I provided value straight away, and helped him out of going about how you would go about finding the different types of planners, and then how you would put it together yourself. And then you can make the books, make the planners, and set up the niche of planners for an array of different planners. So he come on and thanked me for the video, because that's what I like to do for my members. Sure. When they're asking questions, I'll try and, if I can do it, I try and do it in a video so I can show them where they're going, what to do, how to find it, and all sorts of things like that. So I provide the value by giving them the full works on how to do it.
Yeah, that's good. So in that feedback loop, were you able to get maybe some of their frustration? Did you understand what they were trying to say, and is there a way to use the feedback in the next marketing cycle that you have?
Yeah, I suppose it was the fact that he didn't know how to do it, and he was looking for the solution of how to put them together.
Okay. And
So I suppose you're providing that for him, because his problem was he wanted to do planners because planners are good sellers on Amazon for the books, and you can make a few quid on planners, but he's having that frustration of not knowing how to put them together. Is where he was at, I suppose.
yeah, so maybe the frustration is knowing what to do but not how to do it. Is that
Yeah, definitely.
okay? All right. Well, and
Yeah, definitely
that
yeah.
makes sense because that's kind of what happens, right? I mean, that's that they are sort of responding to traditional and good marketing material, and that is, let me tell you what to do to fix your problem, and then let me show you how to do it. And then the show you how or teach you how part is the part that you would expect them to have to pay for. Um, what you go
Yeah.
to. I mean, for instance, you go to a public school and you get ready to graduate, and if you choose to move on to college, in the primary grades, you're thinking, well, what I need to do is graduate here and I need to get an additional education. But when you finally get in that process of getting the education, it costs a lot of money, right?
Yeah, it certainly does.
To
It certainly
specialize,
does. Yeah.
and for someone to be at the front of the room, to have office hours, um, to provide the step-by-step process so that you have a skill that's marketable, that costs money. And
Yeah, definitely.
that's just the way the world works. So it's interesting that's kind of what's going on for you. So anyway, let's see. Cooking with Kevin. I think this is just a funny story. Let me do it real quick. Cooking with Kevin. Um, so have you noticed? Maybe you're not on Zoom very much, or maybe you're because you're a team of one. You don't have to do this a lot. You don't have to do
Yeah, yeah.
video chats and things like that. If you're in the professional world, you went into remote work back in March. Everyone was working off their phone and email. Then they realized within a week they had to have some sort of video interaction, or they were starting to lose the effectiveness of their communication, right? And they were still in all of the habits of work. So they're starting on time, ending on time, dressing up, um, behaving themselves, not drinking alcohol, doing the things that they're supposed to do at work, right? Well, as this remote work is getting older and older, we're starting to see some really funny behavior. And there was actually an article, I want to say it was in the USA Today a couple weeks ago, about the sort of lax standards that have occurred where people are doing laundry while they're on the cam, they're eating, they are dressing down, they are sometimes drinking alcohol at work, and you have just bizarre change from business as usual, very buttoned up and doing your thing, to, hey, I'm just working at home and it's all gonna be okay. Um, so my dog,
I
my
think the hardest part there is people keeping that routine, though, isn't it?
oh my gosh, it is absolutely challenging. And it's exhausting to be on a video. In fact, a cousin of my cousin, who was just at my house this last week, he is what is he? He's like the Western States digital asset manager for Nike. So he's in there. He's
Oh,
in
right, nice.
Nike's marketing department, and they are all trying to figure out how to, market clothes and shoes and sell more in COVID and all this other stuff. And he he told me this is the talk at the water cooler. If I have to have one more Zoom call this week, I'm gonna go crazy. Just because it's exhausting. You're staring at the camera. You are not getting the same kind of feedback. You're always on, right? Um,
Yeah.
so it's just kind of funny.
And most of them are live as well, aren't they?
Well, absolutely, yeah. It's not just live in your home, right?
Yeah.
So it's a very personal thing. It's starting to wear on people. Um, so so my daughter started remote learning in high school, and this last week they have they have a student that is there, and that's the student that is there in one of her classes. His name's Kevin, and every time he's on a Zoom call, he's on a Zoom call with his Chromebook. I think it's his Chromebook on the kitchen counter, and he's cooking breakfast.
Cooking.
So, so,
Nice.
they've dubbed it "Cooking with Kevin." And in the they're so I mean they're teenagers, so they're on their phone chatting with each other about cooking with Kevin. Hey, look, it's another episode of Cooking with Kevin, and it just shows you what's really going on these days about and how the technology is changing, how our interaction is changing, and it's just a funny story. Hey,
Yeah, definitely.
I
And
mean,
it's like a branding thing as well. Like where you say he's cooking with Kevin, they're kind of building their own brand.
Yeah.
He could become the top chef, or something like
absolutely,
that.
absolutely.
But it's an entertaining side of it as well, isn't it?
Oh
That
my
sort of
gosh.
builds it up as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
People love a good laugh once they're, it makes life easier, doesn't it, when you're laughing?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and when you can poke fun, maybe if you don't take yourself too seriously, that's good. And if you could poke fun at somebody else and they're okay with it, that's good. Yeah,
Definitely.
to not have enough humor in this world is rough. So every once in a while I'll go.
Especially at those times and all,
Oh
right?
my gosh, yeah. So every once in a while I'll go in and check on my daughter if she's on a break. I'll say, "Hey, how's cooking with Kevin today?" And she'll and she gets a smile on her face, and she's able to tell us what he's cooking, or maybe they don't even know what he's cooking. But yeah, I mean, we're doing everybody's doing something funny, right? Laundry or whatever. But that sort of creativity is bananas. But that's crazy.
Yeah, isn't it, mate? And it's like you say, the way the world is changing at the moment through COVID of lockdown and things trying to go back to normal, and then it's not, and then it is. We've had sort of episodes over here at the moment where, like my daughter, she had the opportunity to go back to work a couple of weeks ago. It was all set, and then suddenly they said no, she couldn't because they can't do. She's a beauty therapist, and as you know,
Yep.
and they weren't allowed to do facial work. No facials, no lashes, and she mainly does like Russian lashes and individual lashes and stuff like that. I don't know too much about it, but yeah, she was all set. She had about 3 or 4 clients book in for the day she was going back, and then 24 hours previous, it was all shut down again. She couldn't go back, so she had to cancel all the clients and book them for now when she's gone. She has actually gone back this week. So, but it kind of threw her out with the situation of 1 minute she could and then she couldn't, so she kind of lost in the world again.
Yeah.
And that is the hardest part at the moment, mate. Is that brings me back to what you were saying about where's your next paycheck coming from?
Yeah.
Because you just don't know.
Yeah.
People just don't know. And you and me both, we've both been online for many years, trying to help people to provide this for that exact situation of where you get started. If you need that paycheck, pick something up, get started, and go for it.
Yeah, and in the going for it, I mean, I would just provide some encouragement to have the tenacity, the patience, the process, to not just go flitting all over and do a little bit here and a little bit there, but like set a plan together. This is what I'm trying to do, and then execute the plan, because if you don't, you're just going to be even more frustrated. I mean, it's just going to be, it's going to, you're going to.
He sends you wild, doesn't it? Like when you're going from like one place to the next and you're trying to do everything. I've been
Absolutely.
there a few times myself when I've been trying to do blogging, I've been trying to do YouTube, been trying to make me books, trying to do
Yeah.
traffic, trying
Yeah.
to, all of that sort of thing. It sends you mad,
Yeah. Absolutely.
and you don't focus.
No.
You really don't.
No. And that's really kind of an interesting, and I didn't even plan this, but it's an interesting segue into the sort of headline of the show. And the headline of the show was, how patience can lead to a $3 million payday. So let me do what I can to paint a picture for you. I have a friend named Joe who lives in the East Coast. Actually, he lives in New York City, the one that's in the was like the heat sink of COVID-19 in the United States. So New York
Right in the
City,
middle.
New York City, and I at the time I was sitting in Silicon Valley in an office 2 years ago. This is the patience it requires. 2 years ago, he calls me up and he says, "Hey, we want to do work with one of the local cities that's right next to you. And we would like for you to help us write the proposal to get to work." And I said, "Joe, I'm not doing it." And he said, wait. What do you mean you're not doing it? I said, "Joe, we don't do work for them. I don't want to do work for them. It's not the kind of work that I do." And he's like, "Yeah, but it's the work that I do." And I said, "Yeah, well, you're 3,000 miles away. How are you going to do the work? Like, look, if you guys take good care of the client, I'll do all the work." And I said, "Okay. Well, I don't want to do their paperwork. I'm tired of all the paperwork and the red tape." And he says, "Well, I'll do the red tape." And I said, "Joe, I think this is a mistake. I think this is a mistake. But I know you. I respect you. I understand you want to pursue this. We will kick in and we'll do everything we can to do the right thing by you. But you got to understand, you're going to have to do the heavy lifting. You're going to have to write. We'll give you the stuff. We'll give you resumes. In fact, you can use my resume and I'll be the project manager for you. And we'll just do what we have to do. But you got to put it all together. You have to write it. You have to do everything." And he said, "Fine, I'll do it." Like, oh, dang it, man.
Nice. He wanted it back.
Yeah, I was really hoping he would say, "No, I'm not doing it." Anyway, so we fight and kick and scream, and they issue what they call addendums, right? And so they've asked for us to put a document together, and then about a week later they sort of change and move the goalpost. They say, "No, wait, don't put this in there. Put this in there." Like, "Oh, okay." And then, oh, by the way, fill out all this paperwork, and the paperwork comes, and it's I'm instant messaging Joe. "Hey, Joe, I'm not doing this paperwork." "That's okay. I'll do it, Bradley. It'll be okay. Send it over here." Like, So we turn it in. We turn it in. And when we turned it in, I went, "Joe, it's been real, dude. Good luck. I don't think that we're gonna win.
I'm out of it.
I don't think we're gonna win. I think this was a colossal waste of time. Whatever." And about 3 months later, we get an announcement. Comes to me because I'm been listed as the project manager. We get an announcement to me that says,
You won it, didn't you?
"We won." Well, that was 2 years ago. Okay, the announcement was we won, and I was the first guy. In fact, I stood up in front of our entire company. At the time, it was about 600 people. I stood up in front of our entire company and I said, "I was wrong. Joe was right. I am really sorry I doubted Joe. Y'all, if you want to figure out how to win work the hard way, ask Joe, because Joe's got it figured out." I mean, I'm
He
like,
knows.
I'm the lazy guy. I don't want to do the hard work, but Joe did the hard work, and he did an amazing job of the hard work. I'm an uber fan of the work that he does. What are you gonna say?
But he had the patience to sit and do it, didn't he?
Well, yeah, but the real patience comes next. so imagine 2 years, and then about 3 months later we get the announcement, right? So it's been not quite a year and a half. We get the announcement. They ask for some paperwork. We give them some paperwork. Then there's rioting in the streets. There's other political upheaval. There's changes in elected officials. There's different policies and procedures and more paperwork to do. They asked us to do all that a year ago. We did it. And then Joe calls him about every quarter. How are things? How are things? How are things going? How are things going? We're almost, so it's like February of this last year. Joe calls me up and he says, I think they're close. I said, close to what? He says, close to giving us the contract we expected to get a year and a half ago. And I said, Joe, I'm so tired. Are we ever? Is this ever really?
Some patience, isn't it, mate?
Is this really gonna happen? And he says, yeah, no, I think it's gonna happen. That was in February, and then COVID hit, right? Like, oh gosh,
push it back more.
And so we now there's 3 of us who are checking in regularly. How are things going? What can we do? And we're starting to hear from the staff level that we're going to be working with, and that is, hey, we're trying, we're really trying, but this person is out and that person is out with COVID. We've got to send documents over here, and it's got to be signed over there. And oh my gosh, having everyone jump through all of these hoops, it's incredible. Well, this last week, 2 years later, this last week, we got a $3 million contract to do work with this company or with this agency, and Joe, his tenacity, his patience, and that sort of steady prodding paid off. $3 million worth of work employs in our business 12 full-time people. And
nice.
And he is so not just nice. 15 people had to go home at the start of COVID because the city of New York shut it all down.
Shut down
everything.
Yeah.
They shut down everything and said, go home. And as people were dying in the streets in New York because of COVID, we had an entire team of 15 sitting on their hands and not being able to earn a paycheck. And it hurt our hearts. Well, here we are.
Yeah, definitely.
We're still in lockdown. New York is starting to come back a little bit, not quite there. And all of a sudden, here's the treasure. And the treasure is a $3 million job that we can get started this next week and put people back to work. So it's
lovely.
Oh my gosh, it's the steady patience and the frustration that you have to get through. And I am not that kind of patient guy, but I am telling you, I have been in the trenches, and Joe's his personality and his character have come through, and he is just this steady guy who is willing to put up with all of the other white noise so that he could provide a great solution to his client. And my hat's off to him. It was
definitely
amazing. Absolutely.
He must be a fisherman. He must be a fisherman. Have patience like that.
I'm gonna. You know what? I'll ask him. Well, you're a fisherman, and I can't
Definitely.
do it. Cannot do it.
Sometimes the patience come in with the fishing, mate.
when was the last time you had a fishing expedition? Were you fishing this last week?
No, probably about 6 weeks ago, maybe 7 weeks ago. I had a day out with my boy. Caught one little fish. It was a very, very hot day. And the patients sent me crazy that day because I just wasn't feeding. It was too hot.
Yeah.
And an average day's fishing for me on one of the local lakes, I might get 20, 30 fish in a day.
Wow.
Which is not a bad day. It's tiring. But it's one of them waters where it's quite prolific. The fish, there's a lot of fish in there, and they literally feed on everything on the right day. But I've had days down there. I went on my birthday last year, which is the 12th of January. Very, very cold, freezing day. I think the water was iced over in the morning, but I still went down sort of about 11 o'clock and still had about 10 fish, I think, on a freezing cold day. But then times in the summer, when it's too hot, you might get one or two. You might get none.
Oh,
And
damn.
that, you do need patience for that side of it.
That's crazy.
But not 2 years worth.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's crazy. This
But
been
that business opportunity there, Brad, where he's got the work.
yeah.
How much is that work in terms of the next process of that? You say it's a $3 million worth of work.
Yeah.
Is that for the next year, the next 2 years for the project itself?
Yeah, so it'll be off and on for 3 years, and then they'll have another option to renew it. So some of the work that we do, we take on very specific projects. They'll send to us a request to say we want. I mean, sort of this is the nuts and bolts of my business. We want a new road. We want a new pipeline. Not want a new water tank. We want a new pump station. We want a new water treatment plant. We want a new bridge. All kinds of different things, and that's one kind of project, right? Where it's very specific. This is what they want, and we can kind of custom tailor a solution just for that. The other is what they call on call, and that really means that you have an agreement, and then they can send to you a series of tasks, and you will then take on the task. You'll look at it and say, okay, well, based on what you want, this is the team I'm going to give you, how much time it's going to take to do it, and how much money it's going to cost you for us to get to the finish line that you want. And that's exactly what this kind of contract is. So it can be a lot of different kinds of projects, and it'll be over the next couple of years, and then they'll renew it, or they have a chance of renewing it. And if they renew it, then you sort of just get to be a preferred provider for them. They call you up when they need something, and you can take your team and apply it to
push
the
out
project.
to whatever it is. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
So it keeps them people in work for the next 2 or 3 years, isn't it? The 15 people that's on the project.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, it could keep this. I mean, we just renewed another one, another multi-million-dollar one. We've been doing for 16 years. So, and it has been the same team for 16 years. Really kind of interesting.
Nice.
Yeah. So that team feels pretty confident to know that they have work now for the next 5 years. And
which is nice to know.
They're okay. They're all settled. It's just fine. So, hey, before we hang up the phone here, so to speak, I'm gonna cut this thing off in 3 minutes. Before we do, I wanted to just sort of tell the audience. I mean, if you're looking right now at the screen, you're looking at the training program, the membership program that Simon has. I'm not here to sell Simon's membership program. What I'm here to tell you all is that this last week we recorded two special sessions? Is that what we did? Or is it? I can't remember.
One, I think.
One? Okay.
Quite a long one, yeah. So yeah, that's in there.
So we recorded some special sessions. If it's just one, then that's awesome. Maybe I'm thinking it's more because we had to redo it. Because we made some mistakes.
The technology went up in the air a bit.
We made some mistakes and didn't have the audio on. But anyway, we did record some special sessions on how to sort of map out the business and what to do in order to kind of sustain the business. So if you guys are, at all interested, when you jump into Simon's program, know that as you move up from the basic membership to a pro and to a gold, you'll get more sort of real tools that allow you to not just solve an immediate problem, but really build out a business for the long haul. And if you are at all interested, I would love for you to be able to get a hold of Simon, and he can fill you in on some of the details. And speaking of patience, we haven't had a chance to update the feature set that's in each one of the membership levels and what each bonus looks like. We did sort of roll it out verbally on the first show that we did. So if you're in Facebook, go up and listen to that. We're going to re-listen to it because we've forgotten what we said, and we're gonna write it
Been
down.
a bit of a busy week.
Yeah, we're gonna write it down. So, any parting comments, Simon? I want to make sure that we get a chance to get out of here on time.
No, I think that's about it, mate. We've covered most of everything now. Yeah, and the basic membership there is you get it as the with the upgrade anyway. So if you go for the second or third pro level or gold level, you'll get the lower levels in with that one anyway. So the gold and the pro are just getting there now. So give us a little bit of time and we'll get them set up, ready to go if you choose to, come in.
Sounds good. All right, we are signing off.
Sounds good. Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching, listening in.